If this were a video game, this would be about the point where I simulate to the end of the season.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into this dumpster fire yet again of another game, what has gone wrong to this point in the season to get us here? And a nice day for Walter Pennington. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedon and use code LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Now, this was yet another loss for the Rangers. Yet another game that was close in the middle. Not at the beginning, not at the end, but another incredibly frustrating loss where the Rangers' offensive ineptitude reached, I would say, new heights, but it's been about the same heights of ineptitude, or I guess depths at this point. It's been about like this for basically the entire season. Another frustrating loss where this offense, it's the second Tuesday in a row where the Rangers have been getting perfect game through at least 5 innings. I don't know if it's Tuesdays. I don't know if it's just this offense. I don't know. At this point, that is my official analysis of the Texas Rangers offense. I don't freaking know. It stinks. It's bad. I'm confused. I don't get it. They don't get it. Nobody gets it. It is just what it is at this point. There is nothing new. There is no new little wrinkle to analyze. This was a nice little flare of, oh, okay, cool. The Rangers are getting perfect game through 5 innings by a guy who in his last 4 starts had given up 13 home runs. 13. Averaging 3 1/3 homers per start in his last 4. The most in MLB history. Not by a little bit, but by a lot. The next closest in the last few years had been 9 in their last 4 starts. But this man, who could not stop giving up the long balls in a park that gives up quite a few long balls, the Rangers said, nope, we're not going to give you a base runner for the first 16 batters of this game. Cool. Awesome. Wonderful. Love to watch that. Love to see the team that was battering everybody's brains out last year just be an offensive, I don't know, what's the opposite of a powerhouse? An offensive dead battery? An offensive dried up plant? An offensive Hoover Dam if there was no water on the earth. That's kind of what this offense has looked like this year. And yeah, they scored a 4 spot in that inning. Yeah, they were able to get to Cutter Crawford eventually, chase him from the game, and tag him for 4 runs, only 2 of which were really his fault. Maybe not even 2 of them. But the Rangers weren't able to get this one done. They were in too big of a hole. Yet again, in the bullpen, was not able to keep it close enough for them to get back to winning. They just can't do it anymore. They're done. They look like a team for the first 5 innings that knew they're done. Their season is over. Their playoff hopes are officially kaput. That's the technical term for it. We in business call it kaput. Right now, according to Baseball Reference, they have a less than 0.1% chance of making the postseason, equal to their World Series odds. And that feels about right. if not mathematically, then emotionally. You're 9.5 back of the Astros, who just keep winning, and you're 8.5 back, maybe 8 games back of the Mariners, who also just keep winning even though they didn't play last night. This team is just done for, and I am running out of words and phrases and insights for this pathetic ball club. I'm a very loquacious man. I make my living coming up with things to say, and specifically about baseball, but this team has flummoxed me beyond words, beyond creativity. It's like bashing my head against a wall over and over and over again, and that's a really stupid and cliched metaphor, but that's what this team is. They have turned me into someone who has bashed my head against the wall so many times that I've forgotten how to say nice things about them. That's just where we are. Watching them is an absolute chore. You know, they say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. Well, that's true if you're covering baseball and the baseball team that you love, and the baseball team that you love is winning baseball games. But when you do what you love and you cover a baseball team that is stinking it up with expectation, not just stinking it up, because I've done that before, but stinking it up in a horrible, horrible way with expectations, dear God, is it brutal. There is no respite. There is no Olympics, unfortunately, anymore to take my mind off of things, although this team would win the gold medal in making me want to throw things. Maybe they'd make me want to throw the remote discus style and win a gold medal in that because I throw it so far, because this team makes me so viscerally angry to watch right now. But this is just who they are this year, apparently. And I give them credit for fighting back. And I give Bruce Bochy credit for showing the heart and fight and pissed offness at that garbage strike 3 call on Wyatt Langford to end the inning when the bases were loaded, and a horrifying offensive home plate umpiring decision all series long. Not just against the Rangers, but there were some pretty horrible calls against the Red Sox as well. Granted, this game wasn't as horrendous as the Monday game, where, according to umpire auditor, I believe the scorecards, the Red Sox got 1.5 runs generously from the umpires in a 1-run game. So clearly the difference in the game. And it's just incredibly demoralizing when this team is fighting back and is putting together good at-bats. Same with Josh Young and Wyatt Langford specifically. They've been victims of some absolutely horrendous calls the last 2 years. Wyatt this year and Josh last year and this year, apparently. I thought that Young would be past that. Umpires saying, okay, you're an all-star, you're a World Series champ. Maybe I don't just absolutely screw you over in the most obvious and stupid ways possible at the home plate on a ball that's, 3, 4, 5, 6, 17 inches off the plate, and just call it strike 3 because screw you, I hate you, and I want you to be angry and mad at me. And there's literally nothing you can do or anyone can do, and I am going to get away with it and do it again because I can, and I'm a self-righteous dingus. That's my average impression of the average umpire, because that kind of feels like how they are this season. It just feels like they're like, oh, I can get away with it, so I'm going to, and I'm going to have no qualms. There will never be any repercussions, but it doesn't really matter at this point because it's just an accumulation of a season's worth of incredible frustrations at this point. I'm surprised that Bruce Bochy didn't just take it, find a folding chair out in the dugout and just take it and just slam it against the head of the umpire. Because at this point in the season, with how bad umpires have been, I would not blame him for doing that. Just take a croquet mallet to the kneecap. I mean, it's been that kind of level of frustration for Bruce Bochy, not just with the umpires. I mean, a lot with the umpires because they have been truly horrendous this season, but just a boiling point for the last kind of emotion that this team is probably going to show. I don't think that Bruce Bochy is going to get ejected again this season. I think 5 is it. I think that's done because You get ejected because you care and you're trying to fire up your team, and there's no fire left for this team. There's no hope left for this team. This is done. You're done. You gave it an effort, and it absolutely did not work. But how did things get this far off the rails? How did we get to this point? And was there something that Chris Young or Bruce Bochy or, I don't know, anyone could have done to foresee this coming? We're looking at how we got here and what might fix it for next year, right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. Because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Blast off with iconic summer Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a festive blend of citrus-fueled lemon lime, tart cherry, and raspberry flavors as well. Tear, pour, live more. One stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. There are 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients as well. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop for better hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. This show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active users. PrizePicks is the easiest way and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports because unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. If you're looking for promotions, then PrizePicks has got you covered every single week, from blowing select players' stat projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. So, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. The Rangers take on the Red Sox tonight, 5:10 p.m. Central Time, first pitch. TBD goes for Texas against Tanner Houck, and you can catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, the Rangers right now do not have a starting pitcher listed for the second game of this, or the last game of this series, because of course they don't. Nathan Eovaldi is going to at least delay his start, if not skip it altogether. But, you know, a guy who is 33 and for the most part, 34, and for the most part has held up this season. He was not the problem with this Rangers squad. The expected problem with this Rangers squad heading into the year was not this problem. Heck, none of the expected things really happened this year for Texas. Almost nothing that was expected happened, except for if you were expecting a 39-year-old Max Scherzer to not be able to stay healthy and contribute to a World Series title defense, then, well, I guess you nailed that one. But other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot that has gone as expected for the Rangers. What was expected is that this offense was going to come back and be just as dominant, if not significantly more dominant. The only real changes from the everyday lineup of last year were supposed to be Evan Carter in left field, and then a DH of Wyatt Langford. And, well, you got about 45 games of the season for Evan Carter. He's not coming back in the regular season, and this team is not making the playoffs, so his year is done. You got maybe a month of him actually being healthy, and the production that you got for Carter was just not great. I mean, defensively, he was what you hoped. He still couldn't hit lefties. Got a whole nother year where he did not get basically any chances to hit lefties. And what you thought you were getting at DH from Wyatt Langford was a very good rookie. And so far it's been just a rookie. It's been a rookie who spent all of 6 minutes in the minor leagues. Now, I'm not advocating for him to get sent back to the minor leagues. I don't think there's anything more for him to learn there. But if the Rangers knew this was the production they would get from those two guys, it's easy to sit back and say, well, CY was banking too much on those two guys, banking too much on rookies who have a combined age of 43 and a combined major league experience of a month and a half, a combined minor league experience of 500 games, if that. I don't know that it even was 500 games combined of minor league experience from those two guys. So, okay, well, what would you have done differently? I mean, looking at the free agent hitters that the Rangers maybe could have gotten for DH, my top option was to bring back Mitch Garver. And, well, we've seen what he's done this year. If the Rangers signed Mitch Garver and planned on having him as the everyday DH as opposed to Wyatt Langford, I wouldn't have been surprised if Wyatt Langford was doing enough damage in the minors to come up and take that everyday spot from Mitch Garver within like a month and a half. So that wouldn't have really fixed things. Would you have wanted to sign Jorge Soler, who has been fine, not great, for 3 years, $42 million? If that was the case, the Rangers probably wouldn't have had the money to go sign Malley, or at least wouldn't have spent the money to go sign Malley. They might not have gone and signed David Robertson, who's been great. They might not have even signed Kirby Yates. So, okay, what other hitters were on this market? Rhys Hoskins, 2 years, $34 million. He's the first baseman. I don't think they were replacing Nathaniel Lowe, especially not for a more expensive option. Okay, maybe Justin Turner. Well, he made $13 million this year, and he's had a decent offensive year, but he's not hitting for power either. JD Martinez, it took him a while to even get into the lineup, to get healthy and fully ready for the season for the Mets. And maybe he's an upgrade of what they've had at DH, but there really weren't that many better options. Unless, well, you got Shohei Ohtani, which the Rangers were not beating the $700 million offer that the Dodgers put out there. Even if they were beating that offer, Shohei was still always going to sign with the Dodgers. You look at the other guys out there on this market. I mean, Matt Chapman, no. Heimer Candelario, no. Teoscar Hernandez, I don't think the Rangers were beating 1 year, $23 million from the Dodgers either. I mean, there's not really that many options that you could go out there and say, okay, the Rangers should have done that. Maybe you can look back and you had the foresight to know that Jurickson Profar was going to have by far the best season of his career, and signing him for $1 million would be the best move that any team made this offseason, economically speaking, or per dollar speaking, I should say. Then you're a liar or a presage, and either way, I don't believe you. So there's not really all that much more they could have done. Maybe a Jesse Winker signing, but I mean, I don't think that you could have predicted that you would have gotten only 50 games out of Evan Carter. Maybe you could have predicted that he would struggle. Maybe you could have predicted that Wyatt Langford would struggle. But you look at the rest of this offense, the way that it's fallen off, it's not something you really could have foreseen coming. Jonah Heim being one of the worst hitters in baseball, that's not an expected thing. That's not something you can look back and say, oh, yeah, that was obvious. Everybody saw that coming. No, nobody saw that coming. Adolis Garcia being maybe the worst position player in baseball after 2 All-Star seasons in 3 years, coming off of a historic postseason run, finally getting a contract for more than 1 year, guaranteed. That's not something that anybody could have possibly said, oh yeah, I absolutely saw that coming. If you did, you're a liar or a hater, and either way, I don't believe you, and I don't want to associate with you. It's not a predictable thing. Some kind of drop-off from Adolis? Yes. A little bit less on the power numbers? Yes. But this level of drop-off, not something that could be expected. Now, Marcus Semien regressing to a league average hitter that might be expected. That might be eventually Father Time was going to come for Marcus Semien. And after the most plate appearances that anyone's ever had in a season, regular season and postseason combined, maybe it could have been expected that he might be a little exhausted, a little beat up heading into the next year. I mean, when you're 33 years old and the last 3 seasons you've missed a combined 1 game, maybe it's expected that there might be a little bit of a fall off. But I don't think to this degree it could be expected. I mean, it's just been all around so all-encompassing, this team offensively falling off. It's been not necessarily predictable, but, I mean, it's easy to go back and look back and, woulda, coulda, shoulda, this, that, the other. There's not all that much that I would have really done differently about this offseason, even knowing where the Rangers ended up. I mean, yeah, maybe if the Rangers could have traded for a Juan Soto, that I would have done that. That would have been nice. But I don't think the Rangers were doing that. And if they did, they would give up just so. I don't think they had the prospect capital to do that. The kinds of players that the Padres were looking for to do that kind of a trade that the Yankees did. They didn't have young, controllable pitchers about to be on the verge of the majors. I mean, maybe they could have thrown in Jack Leiter and Owen White, but I don't think they were nearly the same kind of shine that the Padres were getting in that overhaul for Juan Soto. I don't see what all differently this team could have done. Now, moving forward, there are definitely some different things that they could do. You have a lot of questions with this team moving forward in a way that you really didn't expect at all to have this kind of level of questions. I mean, the starting rotation looks on paper of what they would head into next year with, and not great, but not terrible if you don't sign anybody else. You lose Heaney. You probably lose Eovaldi. You lose Scherzer. Well, Scherzer wasn't providing much this year. Eovaldi was providing a lot this year, but if you have a fully healthy Tyler Mahle and Jacob deGrom for hopefully the full season next year, or at least most of it, then you could live without an Eovaldi, even though you would much rather have him on your team than not. And then your 4-5, your 3 is John Gray, which, again, he's only going to get more injury prone as we go to next year. He's going to be 33 years old, and this year he's been solid, above league average of 107 ERA plus in 94 innings, but I don't know how much you're relying on him to make that start every 5th day. He's had 2 different IL trips now, and who knows when this one's going to end, whether it's at the end of September or if he magically comes off the IL in the next 5 minutes of me posting this, then that'd be nice, but even then, not ideal. Cody Bradford as your number 4 starter, I feel pretty decent about that. Dane Dunning as your number 5 starter, and then the depth behind them gets murky at that point. If Jack Leiter had progressed to the point where the Rangers hoped he would be that number 5 starter. He would be at least a solid back-end rotation guy, and at this point, he isn't that. Maybe the Rangers are going to give him some run. There's been some talk about that. Chris Young has brought it up as a possibility of getting Leiter some big league innings, not out of the rotation, not totally out of the bullpen in a traditional bullpen role, but more of a long relief type of piggyback starter. I'm not exactly sure what he's hoping for there, but I don't know, man. This is just a team that has so many more questions. And then you look at this offense and figuring out what to do, what to make of this year's offense is where you really start to scratch your head. Coming up, we're going to talk about the good day from Walter Penny, the one nice thing that happened yesterday, and what the heck to make of this offense for next year. Right after this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by Ibotta. It's summertime, which means it's barbecue season. Stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibotta. So you won't have to choose between burgers and hot dogs, you can get both. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or that fancy dinner that you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying the Ibotta app using code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. Just go to the App Store, Google Play Store, and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKEDONMLB. This show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Now, before I move on from that truly horrendous game yesterday, I do want to give a shout out to Walter Pennington, who did have a very, very good game. 2 1/3 innings, just one hit, no runs, earned or otherwise, no walks, 4 strikeouts, and he looked like a pretty darn good lefty reliever. Got to be under contract for another, 6? This is year 1 of his MLB tenure. I believe that this might count as a full season, depending on how much usage he gets, depending on how many days he spends on the Rangers MLB roster. We'll see exactly how many years of control, but they got quite a few seasons of Pennington, and I really liked what I saw from him. That sinker-slider combination works very, very well. The slider as well was very, very nasty last night. 7 swings, 5 swings and misses. The opponents were chasing it out of the zone 2/3 of the time. That is a very, very good chase pitch, and they were not making contact with it when they were chasing it out of the zone. Also able to throw it for a strike. Just nice day from Walter Pennington, and I do have to give props to El Bombi and Nathaniel Lowe for working those RBI bases loaded walks. Very good plate appearances from them. And also Wyatt Langford, even though he got rung up on strike 3, that was 2 to 3 inches outside of the actual strike zone. Now, moving forward with this offense is the question. Just moving forward with this team is, what the heck do you do with the 2025 Rangers? You've hopefully got DeGrom back. Malley has looked very good so far in his 2 starts. Cody Bradford, we'll see what he looks like. I'm looking at that very, very closely the rest of this season, because I think that he might end up being the Rangers even number 3 next year. But the Rangers right now, with their payroll and their whole question of, oh my gosh, are we ever going to get any money? Poor ownership, poor billionaire who just got all of that money from winning the World Series and spent it on, well, not a whole lot this offseason. And the Rangers won that World Series because of those splashy offseason moves, because they spent big on big-time free agents, and for the most part, they worked out. And Corey Seager, and Marcus Semien, and Nate Eovaldi, and Jacob deGrom worked out for those 6 starts, and we'll see what he provides next year. And if he looks like Jacob deGrom and is healthy for at least most of the season, gives you 150 innings, that could end up looking like very much a decent deal if he does that for multiple years. But as for what they do with this team next year, I mean, part of me wants to just think, okay, offense is down league-wide. It's not just the Rangers hitters that forgot how to hit this year. It's not just that. I mean, it's a little bit of that, but it's not just that. Wyatt Langford is a rookie. He has progressed very, very quickly and adjusted very quickly. He hasn't done it quite to the level that I thought he would at the major leagues this season, but we've seen bits and spurts. I mean, that 6-week stretch from right when he got off the IL until basically the All-Star break, he looked fantastic. He looked like the Rangers were hoping for. Still not quite the power that I know he has and he knows he has. Needs to elevate that ball a little bit better. But the athleticism and the speed have been very, very good. But this offense, I mean, what to make of Adolis Garcia's season? That is probably the toughest question the Rangers face next year. Is he going to be this? Has he been dealing with some kind of injury all season? I mean, part of me thinks it's going to be like, at the end of the year, if you don't follow hockey, this happens literally every year at the end of the playoffs. It comes out the injury report of, oh, this guy was playing through, a broken femur and 17 shattered ribs, and also half of his brain was, on ice or whatever. And you don't realize that until the end of the season. But for me, the production from Adolis Garcia since basically May 1st, when he's started falling off, part of me thinks it's just some kind of prolonged injury, or I don't know what to make of it. I have no clue. What to make of Josh Smith's season, I'm not entirely sure. That first half pre-All-Star break, amazing. But since then, not quite as amazing. Is Marcus Semien really just on the decline, or is it a result of having an extra month of the season playing that many more games? Or is he going to bounce back and be better in his age 34 season? I'm not sure. Is Jonah Heim going to be terrible offensively next year? I don't know what to make of that. Nathaniel Lowe, is he going to have quality at bats but still not hit for power again next year? I don't know. And I don't know what this team is going to do spending wise. I mean, in terms of the bullpen next year, of the guys they have under contract, well, David Robinson has a mutual option. Yep. Walter Pennington will be present in some capacity. Jacob Latz will be present in some capacity. Josh Sborz is under contract, but outside of that, I don't know where you go with this group. There are a lot of questions that are going to be difficult to answer, and I think if this Rangers team had some confidence that they could go out and spend, then I'd feel much better about them contending in 2025. But at this point, I mean, what are you expecting from Evan Carter when he comes back next year? What are you expecting from Wyatt Langford in season 2? What are you expecting from Josh Young, who has been in a rough way since he got off the IL? I don't know. I don't know what to make of this team. I mean, I would love for this team to go and try and throw every dollar that they've got at Juan Soto, but I don't think that's happening. And even if they do, I don't know that they're convincing him. Maybe they are, because Chris Young, when he is given the green light and the open checkbook to go out and pursue a player, he has shown he is very, very good at doing that and convincing them to come and sign for his team. But I don't see the Yankees letting Juan Soto leave their team ever. Outside of that, I mean, you look at the other free agents hitters on this market, there's not a whole lot that particularly inspires confidence. The Rangers aren't going to go sign Alex Bregman. That's not happening. I don't see them going for Teoscar Hernandez. I don't see them opening the bag for Pete Alonso in a way that makes any sense. And the other good hitters on this market, well, Cody Bellinger's not opting out of $27 million next year. Paul Goldschmidt is definitely over the hill. Christian Walker, as good as he's been, he's going to be 33 next year. I don't see the Rangers opening up the bag for, as good as Christian Walker is, as much as I like him, I don't see them, unloading the bag for a 33-year-old first baseman. Now, maybe they do, or maybe they don't. I don't know. But outside of that, I mean, the only other, certified good hitter that's on the market next year is Anthony Santander, and whoo boy has he been good. I mean, he's been quietly one of the better hitters in baseball for about 3 years now. Not best, but just above average, and this year he is having a heck of a time to have a career year. I mean, in 115 games so far this year, his first All-Star season, 36 home runs at 847 OPS. The on-base has never been great for him, but the slugging this year has really turned it on to the next level. I mean, last year he had 28 home runs. The year before he had 33 home runs. Last year he also had 41 doubles with those 28 bombs. So he has been a pretty consistent extra base hit machine. But do you put him at DH? Do you put him in right field? And at that point, what do you do with Adolis Garcia? What do you do with Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford? I mean, there are just so many questions with this group that I don't know how they answer them all. But I really do not envy the position of Chris Young of making the decisions, because watching this team down the stretch, I think there will be some pretty key indicators, but I don't know. And even watching those key indicators is going to be a very frustrating mark. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.